Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. I'm glad you're here this Monday morning. I was thinking driving in this morning, y'all are so lucky you can watch the show. You start your week off on a Monday morning with Panhandle Outdoors. Don't you feel sorry for everybody else in America, because only the Panhandle people get to watch Panhandle Outdoors when it first comes on Monday morning. They watch this late on YouTube, but you're the special chosen few, and I'm glad you're watching the show this morning. High today 78 and low tonight 57. Our weather brought to us by Haney Technical Center. We're looking at a moon phase, our Monday moon phase now. We're looking at a waning moon. We had the full moon this past Friday, and it was waning now, so it's going to be some good fishing this week. Tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn, and we're finally back into some good tides. We're looking at a high tide at 11:02 this morning. Okay, so it's coming in all morning, and then we've got a low tide at 9:57 tonight. And the marine forecast, so the high tide is going to be aided by this marine forecast. It's going to be coming south-southeast at 5 to 10, which is our normal. You know, we have more of those south-southeast winds more than anything. So we got a situation here where the tide coming in, so it's going to be a good day on the water. And like I say, the wind's going to switch on later this afternoon up to the northwest, but it's not going to be blowing much, about 8 to 10 later on the day. So it's going to swap all the way around. All right, let's take our break. We'll be right back with our special guest. All right, welcome back, and look who's with us this Monday morning. Officer Travis Bashford.
Good morning.
Always glad to have Travis. He's supposed to come on last week. Travis got a busy schedule now. Sometimes he's called out, sometimes he's got daddy duty. You staying busy, man.
I do, on both ends of it. Yeah, daddy daycare keeps me busy, and then this job, it's demanding at times.
Yeah, it's not an 8 to 5 job, is it?
No, it's not. No, it's not, but we love it. So
I know you do. We do a great job, and we got a lot to talk about, so fascinating case of the month and all. But let's go ahead, and then what are we going to start with?
Well, we've got a lot going on, spring fishing and all that. We've talked about, pompano, been a real good run of pompano this year, Spanish, kingfisher showing up, and then our normal sheepshead here in Destin, Panama Pass has been pretty good.
I was going to ask you, sheephead has been pretty decent?
It's been pretty decent, but based on my experience just working and then living here, it hasn't been the greatest run this year. Okay. And it was kind of a weird, we talked about like February was warm, and then March got cool, and then that water temp, so it wasn't really a hard run because we checked a lot of boats. I tell you, the pompano run's been really good. And then sheepshead's been kind of, fair, I would say, but they're there. I mean, they're targeting them, they're catching them. Especially in the pass area. So, but we've got our offshore stuff coming up, and I just wanted to talk some about that because we're going to have some discrepancies, or mainly differences between state and federal, and we've kind of been blessed in an enforcement and for fishing for the fishermen, in that when we have a state and federal season and it's consistent, it's easier for everyone around.
Yes.
Because then okay, I don't have to worry about this 9-mile line. It's open in both. Or it's closed in both. And we're going to have some differences coming up with greater amberjack and gray triggerfish, so we can dive into that. And the main thing is we're going to have some closures in federal waters where it's going to be open in state for now. So I'll just go over that briefly. The greater amberjack, they're closed. They're going to remain closed, okay, in May. Okay. And triggerfish and amberjack, they have their normal closure in June and July, but just talking about specifically federal waters with AJ, they're saying that the annual catch was met last season, so they're going to remain closed in May, then they would stay closed June and July, and then they'll reopen August through October in federal waters. Okay, that's federal waters for amberjack. Now let's go to state waters. Current open seasons, it is going to open in May as of now, and then it will be closed June, July, and then be open August through October. So the late summer, fall season will be the same, but we're going to have a time as of now in May, it's coming up pretty quick, where AJ will be open in state, closed in federal. Okay, so just important to know, and guys, y'all can go online, check this stuff. You need to go to our website and NOAA's website if you're going to be going into federal waters, check that stuff. going on to gray triggerfish.
Okay.
A difference there too, and that's what actually we've seen some really good triggerfish catches this spring.
I've seen some good pictures. Yes.
I saw one the other day. I think he was like 22-inch triggerfish.
That's a big trigger.
It was the size of a garbage can lid, and it was.
That'll make a lot of fish tacos.
And I'm going to tell you, yeah, they're great on fish tacos. That's a great eating fish.
It is a good fish.
I love eating triggerfish, and they're very good. And I've seen some really good catches this spring, and that's what the guys have been going offshore. Guys and girls, they've been catching great triggerfish and vermilion, and they've been doing pretty good. And then they've had a lot of throwback red snapper, obviously. So triggerfish, federal waters, open. They're going to close it May 11th, kind of middle of the month. Okay, because
why did they choose that particular day, May 11th?
Well, what their formula was basically the annual catch limit. They project it to be met by May 11th.
Okay.
So they have these different things, and one thing also, y'all, we had on last year our FWC marine fisheries biologist for the Northwest region, Mike Norberg. We're going to have him on next month.
Okay.
That's the plan, and he can explain this stuff a little better than I can. He goes, he'll go to these Gulf Council meetings. He's at every commission meeting for the most part, and he can kind of dive into that a little more, but that's what they're projecting it to be met by. And that's kind of weird to be middle of the month, but that's what they're saying. So May 11th, it's going to be shut down. I want to get that word out there. Now the difference is in state. Okay, state open just like now with federal. They're going to open as of now through the end of May. Okay, like they normally would.
Okay.
So toward the middle end of May, we'll have a difference where federal will be closed, state will be open as of now. It'll close its normal June and July closure and then reopen August through December in state waters. Federal waters for triggerfish, they are not going to reopen it until 2020 once it closes May 11th. So if you want to get triggerfish, you got a little under a month. You can go out there and target them, but they're not going to do it in federal waters as of now in state. Now, one thing to remember on this is that they got a commission meeting coming up beginning of May right here in our region, and they're going to discuss these things.
Okay.
Because when it gets different like this, sometimes it gets confusing for people. And also from enforcement, it makes our job a little different. So anyways, just wanted to outline that. I know it seems like every time we come on we talk about reef fish, but it's just an ever-changing fishery.
It's hard to keep up with.
It is, and it's the responsibility of the angler, it's the responsibility of us to get that word out there, and our website does a really good job on keeping that stuff up to date.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back with Travis. Okay, welcome back. We're talking about fishing. Guess what? And one thing we're talking about, you want to talk about the trout now?
Sure, yeah, we can talk about it.
We were talking about speckled trout, and we're talking about even when he was a kid, how they used to catch so many, and you can see a difference in not quite as many.
Absolutely.
And we're talking about Captain Roy, and he and I have talked about it at length and all, not catching as many, and Captain Roy's moved around. So what's going on with speckled trout?
Well, we got a lot going on with speckled trout. This has been kind of a long time coming as far as what our biologists have been doing, and what the commission and the agency's been doing is basically gathering information. So they did a stock assessment on speckled trout, they did a survey, and they also did these workshops. We've heard about the scallop workshops. They've done them for cobia, they've done them for a lot of different things, and I know I went to one here in Panama City a while back for sea trout. And what they're wanting to get is stakeholder input. Hey, what are you seeing out there? Are you seeing a lot of trout? Are you seeing not so many? What sizes are you seeing? What areas? And basically the common voice that they were hearing from this public input was, hey, the numbers are down. And that's what Coach and I were talking about on the break. I used to trout fish a lot.
As a kid, you and Steve brought your son, Steve.
That's right, yeah. Me and my cousin out there, we'd just go to North Bay and West Bay, and we would we'd go out there and catch 75 trout in a couple hours. Now a lot of them were undersized, but we caught some keepers. And what's funny, we were just talking about, and what's what we called them all was that Roy's Ray popping court, with that feather and that popping court. And man, I don't care if he's 8 inches or 28 inches, they eat that.
That's true.
And they and it was so much fun. But the numbers have been down. I've seen it, you've seen it. And they've heard it from the stakeholders. And then the stock assessment wasn't favorable really for the Northwest region. And I'll get Mike Norberg to elaborate on that.
Okay.
But when you have a stock assessment that's down some, you got a lot of people saying that, so they want to make a change. And this is a statewide thing they're doing with spotted sea trout. Now, this is getting brought to the commission next month. These are proposed changes, Usually the commission goes with the proposed change, or they might modify it a little bit. But statewide, some of the changes they're talking about, and I'll keep everyone up to date on this, is prohibiting the guys from keeping their bag limits, on guided trips, inshore trips, and that's statewide.
Yeah.
Now, for our region in particular, we've always, well, not always, for a long time, we've had 5 trout bag limit, 15 to 20 slot, 1 over 20 inches. They're talking about bringing that down to 3 fish. Okay, so that, that's what, basically you see that either you have a closure or you reduce the bag limit, and then size limit. They can also do that as a conservation measure. And then another thing that we haven't seen in years is they want to re-implement the February closure for their region. Years ago we had that closure in February. Trout are vulnerable when they stack up in those holes or by fresh water in the wintertime. And that's what they're talking about. Now, there are different management zones across the state.
Right.
And down south, they're actually talking about, a couple of those are talking about getting away with that big fish, so no fish over 20. That's not on the proposal for the Northwest region. But these are all proposals. They're going to bring them to it, but we could see this implemented this year. It looks like. Stay tuned for more, but just let you know what's kind of going on with trout and in our region. So,
Okay, that's interesting.
Yep, big stuff there. And then we've got red snapper coming up. Everyone stay on top of that, June 11th through July 20th. Got good consistent there with state and federal, and then the federal charter fleet, they'll start a couple weeks early, June 1st. And then before I come on the show again, stone crab is going to close May 16th. So just a reminder there for everyone.
Now you're talking about, let's go back to snapper real quick. Federal season of snapper will be June 1st.
For the, yes, sir, for the
charter.
For the federal charters, they're federally permitted.
The people would, the charter boats, and that's what, because we put our trip together, and I said, wait a minute, it's not going to open the 16th, and they said, no, we're going early. So that, so keep that in mind. A lot of times I get that confused myself, but.
Oh yeah, because you're going to go with Captain Bill Archer.
Always on the first Saturday of June, so we're excited about that.
You're good on that, and then the private recreational, and then the state fleet will open June 11th. So good on that. So I mean, what have you been seeing on trout? Back to that.
Well, that's interesting to say that, because that's really the bread and butter of the bay system, and of course redfish have become the glamour fish since probably the late 80s or 90s. Redfish stepped in way before that, and even in the research I was doing on the book, nobody ever talked. All those old newspaper articles from the 20s and 30s, I got tickled because nobody ever talked about catching redfish. But when they caught a big old trout, it made the paper.
Right.
I remember 1920 something, somebody had a big old 9-pound trout and all. So the speckled trout has been the mainstay. Now, getting back to answer your question, that we're not catching as many. The last couple of trips I've been on, some of the old honey holes we go to, we're catching some, but we're not catching that 25 and 30 like you say that we used to catch.
Yeah.
So there's something going on there. And our guides, our fishing guides, and you know them, they're really good about catching and releasing.
They are.
And of course that leaves the rest of us, a lot more of us than there are of them. And our philosophy, or mine, has been we just keep what we're going to eat usually that night or next day.
That's it. Yeah, I want to freeze trout anyway.
Nobody's going to freeze trout. That's a soft sort of fish, and also.
It is.
So anyway, that's interesting too. I was going to ask you about. We talked about sheephead. What about? I know it's early in season about flounder. Have you heard anything? Have you seen anybody catching any flounder?
I've seen a few. I heard a report the other day. People actually go and gig them for them already. And yes, sir. And out there toward Crooked Island, some guys went, and they didn't have a lot, but the 3 or 4 they had were big ones.
Yeah, catching a couple.
Yeah, upper size fish. And I do remember that in your book. You know, before Deer Point, way long ago, how Bayhead used to be some of the best. You said trout fishing.
Can you imagine if the Deer Point Dam wasn't there? Can you imagine going to Bayhead and that?
It'd be great.
There'd be some big lodges. And they used to have fishing lodges, a hotel and fishing lodge.
That'd be the biggest flow of fresh water in all the bay system. It would be.
Cedar Creek and Econfine and all coming in there.
That's pretty, I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay. One other quick question. We're going to come back. This case of the month is going to blow your mind off. But before we go to that, anything on grouper?
Grouper, as of now, for our area, they open earlier to the east. But our area, they're still scheduled to open July 1st on gag.
So that's just going to be the gag.
Now also this spring too, I forgot to mention, gray triggerfish vermilion, and I have seen some people, if you got red grouper numbers, you better hold on to them. But the guys that have them, they've caught some really nice red grouper because they're open right on through, and I have seen some nice red grouper.
Okay.
It's just rare to see them now. It's weird, but if you got good natural bottom and got good numbers, that's good. You know, and I know the storm moved a lot of stuff around, covered a lot of stuff up.
Yeah.
So I've heard that from a lot of people too. But yeah, groupers July 1st still scheduled, and it'll run to the end of the year as far as our area for gag.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Let's take our final break. We'll come back with our case of the month. Welcome back. So Officer Travis Bassford, and he's just full of stories. Even at a young age, he's full of stories. I want to go ahead and encourage you to document your stories, and when you retire, write a little book of memoirs. And I believe that most game wardens should do that. I really do. Let's do a fishing game time today. Brought to us by Blue Water Outriggers in Port St. Joe. 3:15 to 5:15 this morning. We just passed it. And 3:41 to 5:41 tonight. Okay? So those times are important. Real quick, you've seen those times where people catch them, then shut down, and catch them.
You better believe it.
You've been out there, I know you see it.
Oh, yeah.
All right, case of the month. I was talking about some of our fine, outstanding citizens here. All right, this is fascinating.
This is a good one here, and first off, I want to recognize some officers over in Franklin County. They've been working really hard on this, and we'll tell the story, get into it, but this case right here, it takes a lot of work. A lot of kind of going above and beyond to make these a lot of times, because it isn't just one where you just pull up to a boat, check them, and it's okay, well, they got 5 snapper that they shouldn't have. This is one that takes a little extra work. So these guys did a real good job, and girls. So officers, I want to recognize David Travis, Officer Morgan Sauls, Nick Cossey, Josh Hughes, and Logan McLeod over in Franklin County. They all teamed up, worked together on this, and did a great job making this case. And what it was a gill net case, mono gill net. And we were talking for the show about it. You know, they can really damage the resource big time with these nets. And basically what they did, the guys they were working, they had a history of this stuff. So a long history of net violations, okay, a long history of saltwater resource violations, going back many years.
This is a generational kind of thing.
Right, and so basically they had been working these guys, and Officer David Travis, he was watching them fish, actually watched them strike the net, okay, and then they started picking the net, which, you know, for those of you who don't know, mono gill net, it takes a while sometimes to get those fish out of there because they get gilled up. So he's watching them do that, and then they went to move in, and when they did, the boat kind of blacked out and hit a light, so they had to kind of get up on them quick. And when they did, the boat took off a little bit, so they downed the boat, the first FWC boat with David Travis and some other officers, and then the suspect boat, basically they threw the net on them because they know they can't be in possession of it. It's highly illegal. It's actually felony charges we're talking about. So anyways, they downed the boat. The other FWC boat got the net. Okay, so they have the boat, the net, the fish, they had the case and the guys, and then once they detained them, they interviewed them, and they were out there gill netting. And what they had in the net, they had just actually done it one time, so they were just getting started, but they had pompano, black drum, sheep's head, Spanish mackerel, bluefish, and a redfish too. So we're talking about game fish there, and they did really good, and it was quite a bit of fish. So it was a big net. They're saying almost 5,000 square feet, and it's all illegal when you're using mono gill net and the big mesh and all that. But great case by these officers over in Franklin. These guys that they caught can really hurt the resource. I mean, we're talking about, you love to pompano fish. I love to do it too. Recreational guy out there trying to do it, and before you know it, these guys have been out there, maybe a couple of their boats, and they've caught hundreds of pounds the night before on the beach where you're trying to fish or wherever. So great job again over there by those officers making that case, and glad they were able to take them down. So. Well,
I want to thank those officers too. I just know that takes a lot of work and all, but I know y'all are dedicated. But I keep thinking about, you know, why. And I can't ever figure it out. Especially now, in this day, in this era we're in right now, as far as since Hurricane Michael, if you want to know punk crooks out there watching this morning, there's plenty of jobs out there right now where help wanted signs. You can go make more money if you're working in construction than trying to break it all and hurting all of us. So that's why that even makes it worse nowadays with so much work out there. And they're just so anyway, the hurt they can do on a pompano fishery is big time.
It is, yeah. and they're not the only ones doing it.
Oh, no.
I mean, make no mistake about it. So if you think about it, I mean, I showed you the picture, and we're not going to share that right now, but I mean, these fish, they fell in the back of a truck with the fish, and that's just one strike. So you can just imagine, and you know, these guys are good at what they do. They've been doing it a long time, and there's a lot of elements that go into making this case. That's why I just want to really, pat these officers on the back, because there's a lot of different things moving and has to happen. A lot of people don't realize what it takes to make a case like this.
You got a good point there, and it's a cat and mouse thing. These people, these crooks that are doing this, they've done it before. They know how to hide, how to black out, how to take off, how to go where the oyster bars are, how to throw what hole to throw the net in.
Oh yeah.
They know. I mean, these are. I don't want to use the smart because that's a compliment. These crooks are real big crooks.
They are, and there's a lot of intent that goes into them breaking the law, and that's why they threw that net, because they know they can't be caught with that sucker
That's
on
a
them.
felony.
And it's a good thing that we had another boat there to get that and make the case. So I tell you what, so it's just good. Got these guys off of it for a little bit, and we'll do our best to keep on these guys, but and it's a seasonal thing. They target a lot of fish. But the thing about a gill net too is it kills everything. I mean, look, were they trying to catch redfish? Hopefully not, but they're killing redfish in there while they're trying to catch pompano and everything else. So that'll be some additional charges too. So it's just a good job. Glad we got them, and
I am too.
Good job.
And like I say, these gill nets. We gill netted way back when it was legal and all. We'd always do it, catch mullet when we have a big fish fry and all. And it was fun to do and all. And but we've seen it. One of the heartbreaking things I never forget it. We caught we'd had it out in an area and all, and by the time we got back to it, a little tarpon had been caught in it.
Oh
and
yeah.
I said, this ain't right.
Yep.
I hated that.
It will.
And, but anyway, you're able to help out a lot. So if you see something out of the ordinary, if you see a bunch of guys out there at midnight pulling nets and all, they have a license to do it.
Right. Yeah, they can do stuff legally. They can't use the monofilament gill net, but they can use seines and different things. There's size limits, there's mesh requirements, so you can legally net, but this was definitely illegal. And you talk about different things getting in the net. I know we did some down south, and there's some guys that were targeting pompano, and they had a daggum sea turtle in there. So they're killing all kinds of marine life too. So. Anyways,
but all that's illegal now, so you can't. I mean, gill net. I mean, you can't.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, well, we got to wrap it up. That's a good case, and thank all those folks for doing that.
Oh yeah.
All right, buddy. You got to go to work.
I do.
All right, folks. Thank y'all for watching Panhandle Outdoors. We always appreciate the viewership. Y'all do something good today for your fellow man. Enjoy our great outdoors, and God bless.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.